Welcome all. This is Excel Module 2, the textbook project, and it geared upon formatting values. So in the very beginning, it just tells you when you format a cell, you enhance the appearance of the information by you're going to change the font size, the color, maybe the background color, or the alignment, or put a comma, currency, depending upon what you want to do. So it just makes your worksheet looks a little better. I think you already know that. We've done some things already. So I'm going to open up 2-1, which I already have, and I'm going to save it as 2-1. We want to do tech. So I'm hitting the F12 key on my keyboard. I've already done this, so I'm just going to use this one over here. Remember to make sure it has your name on it. Click on save. Yes, I know it needs to be replaced, and we're good to go. So we're good here. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to select the range G3 to G5 and use the accounting number format. So I do want to tell you something about the accounting number format. When you do it, there may be an issue with something, especially on the simulation. So I'm going to go over that with you in a second. So we have G3 to G15. So I'm going to go and click on G3 to G15. I'm going to click on the number format for the accounting. So what that's going to do is give it the number sign and the 2 decimal places by default. The issue with that is when you use the comma style. So let me go and click on the range that we need to do, which is H3 to H15. If you go down a number here, you're not going to find a comma. So I'm going to click on the comma here. And that's going to be basically the same thing without the decimal or without the number sign. So what I want to do here is let me go in and select this accounting again. And you may not get the number sign. You may get it, you may not. So I'm going to show you how to fix that if you don't get it. Okay, in this particular case, we're getting it. So in the simulation, you may not get it. So I'm going to just do the comma one here. So let's go into comma. And notice again, there's no comma. But what you have here is you have accounting. The only difference is it doesn't have the symbol, $sign. So if you just click on accounting in a simulation, you may get marked off for it. So let me undo this here. And if I go into the expense, which has the $sign, notice that the symbol is in here. So if you don't have it, you're in, say, the comma, and you want something, just click it, and you can put the $sign right there. So that's basically the difference between comma and accounting. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to cell M1, wherever that is, which happens to be right here. And it wants us to use the percentage. So here's a percent. When you do it, it's going to automatically format to 2 decimal places. So this should be 20.00%, which it does. In this particular case, actually, it's no. So again, it may give you 2, it may not, depending upon your last setting. So here, notice that it has percentage and 0 decimal places. So all you have to do is click on this. I believe it wants it 3 times. So we're going to click the increase the percentage. Now, in my particular case, it did not give me the 2 decimal places. So I had to click it 1 time, actually 3 times. So now it's 3. So now it tells us to decrease it to 0. So we're doing it 3 times. Oh, actually, I'm increasing it. And then we have 20. So if you want 2 decimal places, you can just go in here and put in whatever you want. Or you can click on the increase or the decrease as you see fit. So range C3 to C15. Notice this is a date format. So we're going to do it in the 14th March. So let's go here. Notice that it already has the date. So it just wants the 14 and March. So they want the days and then a spelling of the month. Now we're selecting the range I3 to J15. So I3. Now, by the way, you can type it up here if you want, I3 to J15. And that selects it for you. That's just another way to do the same exact thing. And we're going to click currency and decimal places. So let's click on here. We're going to click on currency and we're good for 2. So we don't have to put anything 2 in there. I'll click on OK. You could also have click the down arrow here and choose currency. So there's all different kinds of things that you can do. All right, that takes care of number 8. And number 9, select the range G15 and to I5, which we have. And we're going to decrease it. And I'm going to go back to make sure that I didn't miss a step. Click currency, type 2 if necessary. So that's 2. Then it wants us to do it twice. All right, that makes sense. So now we have no decimal points whatsoever. And we should be done with that. So we're good now. Control Home. And I'm going to save it by hitting Control S. We're going to change font size and the font. I think you're already familiar with that. It does talk about a point as a unit of measure that's used for the font size and row height. And basically 1 point is equal to 1/72 of an inch. I know that is the most exciting thing you've heard all day. The default font for Microsoft Office is 11-point Calibri. I'm not a big fan of Calibri. I usually change my default to Times New Roman and 12. And you can do it if you want. However, for these simulations, you want to make sure that you're doing exactly what they tell you to do. So we're going to click on the font arrow. It tells us that you can change it to Calibri. So let's see where we're supposed to be. So we want to be in A1. And we're going to change it to Calibri here, which is good. Click the font size to 20. You could also type it in if you want, if it's not there. In the cell styles, we want to do a heading 1. So here's our cell styles, and we'll just choose heading 1. Then we want to select A2 to J2. So here's A2 to J2. And it wants us to do a heading 2. Now we're going to click on L1. It wants us to hold the Shift key down and then select L2. That's basically the same thing as Microsoft Word, where you click where you want to start, Shift click where you want to end. So I'm going to go to L2 and do what they tell me and click here. I would have just normally just selected them down like that. But this is good if you want to select something from here and go way down here. You can just click here and then Shift click down here. We want to put in a heading 4. That was number 6. So it's telling us to work with cell styles. So let me show you what it looks like. So you can see bad, good, and neutral are formats that are built in for you. Then it has all the different headings that you might want to use. I like these ones down here. And then you also have, of course, the heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and heading 4, and a bunch of other things. So just click on cell styles, and you can see a ton of different things that you can do. And you can actually create your own cell style if you want. Now we're in 2-3, change font styles and alignment in here. And it does give you an explanation of the different alignments. So I do want to briefly go over it. This is vertical alignment. This is horizontal alignment. Now notice, unlike Microsoft Word, there's no justification where it's aligned on both the left and the right. So you're only going to have left, center, or right, and top, middle, and bottom. So you can see right here the revenue and the commission are right aligned. So we're to select the range A3 to A15. So I'm going to click here and shift click down there, which is the same as dragging. And we're going to click on the bold, or you can actually hit Control B, and then it tells us to click on the I to italicize it, but then click again to get rid of it. So it kind of toggles it on and off. Then we're going to do center. Now a shortcut for center is Control E, and that did not work. We looked at the data and didn't see any pattern. So let me see if I hit the wrong letter, if I get the same thing, which I did. All right, so Control E does not seem to want to work here. So we're going to click on center. Control E does work just fine in Microsoft Word. So now we're going to click the Format Painter and select B3 to B15, which you already have. I'm going to click the Format Painter. And then we want to, let's see, select B. I think I read this thing. Select the Format Painter, clipboard, and select B3. So we want to do this over here. So we get the same format for B as we do in A. Click in cell A1. And then we're going to go all the way to J1. And we're going to merge and center. You know, again, I just want to remind you, I'm working off two screens. I'm going back and forth, and I'm talking, and sometimes I lose my place. Sometimes I miss a step. So because it's on a screen, there's no way I can mark it off. So please forgive me if I miss something. So we've done the merge and center, and we should look like this right now. And when you have your computer and it's hard to see, you can click on this little plus sign, and that'll make it bigger. Eventually, it'll make it bigger. So you can see the large version over here. And I'm going to close that. And I will move this over here. So that was this. Now we're going to rotate and indent cells. We're not actually going to do that, but you can indent cells from here. And you can actually rotate cells here. I prefer to do the rotation from the number, and then you can see alignment, and I prefer to do it here. However, you do it whatever way is you're more comfortable with. So we're going to adjust the column width by dragging, resize by auto fit, and change the width. So there's different ways to do the same thing. So we want to position the pointer between C and D, which is right here. And it's going to be like a little double-headed arrow. And it wants us to change it to 94 pixels. So we're going to go between C and D. And notice as I'm dragging, you'll see it. So we want to get to 94 pixels. It's really challenging to do it by dragging and get it exact. Well, 95 is close enough. So, and there's no way to type that in, unfortunately. So, you could try, if you right-click here and go to column width, it's got 12.71, so I could type in 12.71. The issue with that is if they just tell you how many pixels, then you're really not 100% sure what to actually type in there. So this looks good here. Position a point between D and E until it changes to a double-headed. And then we want to double-click, and that will auto-fit it to the widest cell here. So if I were to type in Massachusetts, however you spell it, I'll just make it like this. And then do the same thing. It'll make it all the way out to the widest one. So let's undo all that. We're good here. And just to be on the safe side, I'll double click. There is another way to auto fit, and I'll show you that in a minute. So we're going to auto fit E, F, G, and H. So I can just select E, F, G, and H. I could actually double click on the same one. It'll do it for all of them. Or I can go to Format and notice that you have auto fit row height, auto fit column width. So I can do it either way. And we're going to, let's see, move the pointer to the column heading for I, which is here. And we'll just click on here, and I'm going to right click and choose column width, and it wants us to type in 14. So that takes care of number 6 and number 7. Changing row height is identical. You can double click here, drag it, or you can right click and choose row height. Okay, we are now on 2.5, insert and delete rows and columns. So I'm going to click. Now this kind of is a little confusing because it doesn't make sense right now because it's telling you to right click cell F2. Don't confuse that F2 with the F2 to edit a cell. So I'm going to right click in F2 and I'm going to click on insert, and I've got options here: shift cells right, shift cells down, insert an entire row, or insert an entire column in there. So those are different options. For instance, if I wanted to delete IT Manager and shift everything up, I could delete here and then shift cells up. I'm not doing it this way. So I'm going to click on OK. And I obviously did not do that properly. So let's try that again. And we want to insert an entire row. That would be the same if I right-click here and choose Insert. It would automatically insert it for me. So that was number 2. Number 3 is to look at the insert options, which we did, and we're good to go. Click the Delete button in the Cells group. Let me see what we're going to delete here. So we want to click row 9 here. And you can either right click and choose delete, or if you want, you can go into the cells and click delete. Now notice that you have a drop down arrow that lets you do exactly what you want. So I'm just going to click on delete, and that deletes the entire row. It doesn't give you a warning though, so be very careful in here. So now we're going to click the column K heading, and then we're going to click the delete button again, but this time I'm just going to right click and choose delete. And then it tells you how to hide columns and apply a template. So for right now, or actually save a template, if I wanted to hide column G, say, I just right click and choose hide. Now if I want to get it back, unfortunately, I can't really do it. I have to go to the one to the left and one to the right, and then click unhide in here. So that's kind of a neat thing. And you'll know that something's hidden. Let me hide it again, because notice that you have E but no F. So now we have all those things in here, no G or H either. And if you want to save something as a template so you can reuse it, you're going to go to File and Save As. Here, instead of Excel Workbook, we're just going to save it as a template right over here. So we're not going to do that right now, but you will be doing it in a simulation. So